But more or less they're kind of, I've probably done that once in 10 years, or maybe twice. I tell a lie, twice. So they just kind of naturally come out of my head now, like that. So.
You mentioned chemical. You're a scientist, really?
Yeah, I was a synthetic chemist for probably about 6 or 7 years. I do a little bit, so I did it kind of, no, I'd say part-time, but basically I had 2 jobs for a year. When I started this place, I still had my day job. But then I thought, obviously, you know, it's pretty late nights running a music venue and doing all the other things during the day, that it wasn't really fair on either of those jobs. So basically I had to make the call, which one am I going to do? But I suppose Valhalla was more like a baby, and I didn't really want to sort of throw the baby away after a year. So I kind of went with that. So I don't know if I necessarily missed the chemistry side of things, but certainly it's a lot quieter. There's a lot less crazy people running around, but arguably it has its own stresses, and some of those kind of practices, good practices, I can sort of transfer doing this stuff. You know, where there's always something in the back of your mind, even when you go home from a kind of environment, a research environment, which it was, you're still thinking about things, you're trying to work things out, so you never stop really working. And it's much the same as here, where there's something always to do or improve or to make better. So that's kind of good. It wasn't like a big jolt making Valhalla, like, whoa, what is this overwhelming thing going on? It was just like, oh yeah, back to this.
It sounds to me like you're mixing chemicals at home just to move your mind.
Or almost, yeah. Or at least on, yeah, that's right, on pieces of paper and instead of in your head and whatnot. Yeah, and I suppose because there was also the academic side of it, you know, you get the peer reviews and the peer pressure, and so that's kind of a good sort of training ground in a way, to be prepared for, you know, for the odd situation perhaps at a bar, or the odd situation maybe for artists who may be a bit grumpy or whatever. You know, how to sort of handle, even though you think it's just, you know, you're in a white lab coat and you're not talking to anybody, there's still obviously, you know, interpersonal skills and relationships you have to form. So, you know, as everybody's experienced probably in any job really. So,
right. Yeah. So how did you transition from being a scientist researcher,
Yep.
scientist researcher, to just maybe focusing more on arts, because they're two super extreme, like science is more of you need to have a process in place, right?
That's right. So I suppose hopefully I've transferred some of those processes in the sense of maybe the bookings and maybe hopefully how things are supposed to be run, you know, in terms of any old business. But when I was the scientist, when I was the chemist, I say it wasn't that loud, but I would still have the stereo on in the lab. You know, there's always, every lab has a stereo. It doesn't matter if it's a nasty pharmaceutical company or a small researching team. They're still got to have that blaring background music. And of course, you know, you just rotate it between each member of the laboratory or the work area. And I suppose, you know, I always look forward to when it was my turn. And then of course, when I'm not in the lab, I'd be going to shows and kind of doing this. So I kind of was like at that, you know, that stage of life where you're like, what are you going to do? Are you just going to do that initial job that you're going to do, or that initial kind of employment or career? Oh, don't bother. Nah. Well, in terms of being a promoter, yeah, absolutely. We need more people promoting good shows and you know, trying to spread the word out there. I'm kind of in this mixed opinion in the sense that people that are into this stuff probably know it's here because we're probably going to seek it out. You know, even when I was sort of growing up, you kind of actively want it because you like it, you enjoy it. So it's making a night or making those things happen. But if there's even just a hint of something happening, then really people will support it in the metal community. It's tight-knit, still word of mouth in terms of promotion and doing shows and whatnot. You know, as long as you don't have a cancelled band on the bill, you know, people will probably turn up. So, but yeah, I suppose people just got to be themselves and stuff. Sometimes the more structure you have behind all of those things, it can get lame as well. You know, like we never do the whole like, you know, Valhalla club or, you know, join the club, get 10, you know, all that kind of crap. Yeah, and you know, it would be kind of cool and it'd be nice to give back to people that are regulars. But at the same time, it's kind of nice just to say everybody's the same, including, you know, hopefully myself, everybody's just like on the same kind of level, you know, playing field or whatever. Yeah, otherwise it gets a bit, I don't know, not gatekeepy, but yeah, you just got to keep things honest and pure. And I think Wellington definitely calls out people that are kind of maybe doing things for the wrong reasons but in some ways, if that other person's doing something that makes them happy, who's to judge? You know what I mean? Who's to judge? So yeah, but yeah, just be yourself, really. You know. Oh, really crap guitarist, banjo, pretty poor. And when I started owning, I was like, I've got a drum kit, I can finally learn the drums. But I played maybe 3 to 4 times since. So it was supposed to be Sunday I'd come in here and like fuck around, but no. And in some ways, when I go home, I'm just like, hey, no more music for a bit, you know, so. yeah, almost does, so, yeah, so. But yeah, I haven't picked up the guitar in probably 9 years, to be honest. Yeah, in fact, I sold it. So I sold it, and the person that performs here, you know, she bought it, so it's kind of what the family bought it, so.
So we don't have like instruments here? Like...
We do have a crusty bass in the cupboard, and there's always somebody who's forgotten their bloody guitar. There's one up there. So there's always something fun around. But in terms of, well, you could argue that's the beauty of drums, because we've always got house cymbals and we've also got snare, and we can literally play drums. And that's to save somebody coming in with all their gear. So we try to provide at least something, apart from a guitar, that you can literally just turn up and you can play. You know, guitar heads, guitar cabs, bass stuff. Yeah, which is cool. I think if we owned more guitars, the wear and tear, broken strings, but too much. It was like, I need a drink. And I think it was a bourbon and coke kind of guy. And then obviously it's a packed house. It's gonna be a battle. So, you know, he was just like, I need a drink. And then he just kind of didn't jump, but he got up on here, and then he tried to do the Jesus walk, because it was pretty packed. So he started to walk on people, and they were holding him. He was probably walking on their heads as well. And then, you know, he kind of did the old crowd surf, because it got a little bit thinner, and he surfed his way to the bar. I had the drink ready. He was still playing as well. This is not in between songs. This is like in the middle of a chorus. He's still thumping it out. Gets the drink. I don't know where he put it, to be honest. I think he ducked it under his elbow, and then he just was like, right guys, back. And then he still had his drink, and he was still surfed back on there, took a swig, kept playing. So I thought that was pretty smooth, you know. That was like 20 seconds. He got a drink, got back on stage, kept playing. So that was fun. I think many other people have attempted to do something like that and just fall flat on their face. So. Yeah, it's a skill. It's a skill. He pulled it off pretty well.
Right.
But nothing too crazy has happened in the sense. Oh, we did have one guy set up fireworks in here 2 weeks ago, and essentially it blew up. Yeah, exactly. I didn't know. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew that was going to happen. He obviously, you know, made a mistake setting it up. Thankfully, nobody was on stage. There's a bit of dust still around, and we're trying to wipe off, and you know. But in terms of, you know, no car. So yeah, it's pretty chill. There's obviously the black metal shows where they might turn up with the old thing. Oh, what's that? You know, like, oh, what's that smell? It smells like blue cheese. You know, and then you realise it's because there's rats that are 15 years old on their tops, hooked into their real rats, and that they've frozen, and then they'll pull it out at every show and put it on their jackets. So they literally smell like death. And of course the rats kind of got this weird congealed kind of, the body is there and the skin's all like, and they stink. The bacteria, that, you know, there's that smell where I shouldn't be here. Your body has that natural reaction of, I'm gonna get sick. This is gonna poison and kill me. But it creates a bit of an atmosphere. It creates an environment. And of course, when they do play, half the crowd's out the back because it's disgusting. And the rest of them are like, yeah, give me all your evil, you know. So I knew that was going to happen. Another one was an altar. It's always the black metal guys.
Like the skull.
The skull, except it had a turd in it. So, you know, to be honest, they were notorious for that. So it wasn't unexpected, but it's perhaps unexpected if you're just a random person walking off the street. Oh, there's a probably a human skull with the human feces in it. That's Valhalla, as you do, you know. That only happened once in Italy. So there's a few odd things, but part of the parcel, you know, goes with the music.
So what do you think is the future of heavy metal locally?